saying to himself that anything would be acceptable to him, when, looking up, he spied some great clusters of ripe, black grapes, hanging from a trellised vine. "What luck," he said. "If only they weren't quite so high. I should be sure of a fine feast. I wonder if I can get them. I can think of nothing that would so refresh me." Jumping into the air is not the easiest thing in the world for a fox to do, but he gave a great spring and nearly reached the lowest clusters. "I'll do better next time," he said. He tried again and again, but did not succeed so well as at first. Finding that he was losing his strength and that he had little chance of getting the grapes, he walked slowly off, grumbling as he did so. "The grapes are sour and not at all fit for my eating. I'll leave them to the greedy birds. They eat anything." You see, in life, in your life, have you ever tried to get something, but in the end you failed to get it, and then belittled the thing or the person that you wanted? That is the story of the fox and the grapes, where we are taught that when something is out of our reach, we tend to think negative about it and belittle it. So always try and stay objective, no matter if you are a fox or a bird.
Well, it's my belief that you had a great night. Welcome on board. This is Morning Cafe, from that moment of motivation, and we get to the conversations of the day. I say conversations because we'll be focusing on different matters. It's exactly 11 minutes past the top of the hour. I hope that you had a great night and you are ready and set to face the day. My name is Linda Alela. Once again, the program is Morning Cafe, and we welcome you to be part and parcel of it. Always your feedback is valued. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela TV47KA. We still continue to decipher and unpack the Azimio One Kenya manifesto, as many have reacted to the same in equal measures. People have celebrated this, as and others have come out to criticize it. Well, it depends on what you say in that. Very important that you go through this simple and probably not so much clogged up a manifesto, so to speak. The pages, not so much of the usual ones that we are used to. And the pundits, others argue that, well, this is realizable. There are others who equally are pointing fingers to say that such is not realizable. And as always, the question of implementation then is raised, and also the question of accountability. And they say it's Game of Thrones, as the Right Honorable Raila Odinga cabinet appears to have been set on this other side, while also on the other side they're trying to position themselves to see, in the event that they are lucky enough to garner the presidency, what it will look like. You know, we have 4 presidential candidates that have been declared by the IBC and cleared as well, and so these ones are the men that are going to be on the ballot. But as many would argue, it appears like a two-horse race, because the 2 main contenders are clearly seen based on the numbers, based on the talks on ground, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto. And so we'll be getting into this conversation as we continue to unpack this manifesto, awaiting that one that will be given to us by the other sides as well. Later on, we'll be getting into social matters, and not forgetting that we'll be hitting the kitchen, that is on a Tasty Wednesday, as we keep you up to tabs as to how well you can make sure that, the kitchen is well catered for. When we say it is well catered for, we clearly mean that we get the best of foods from there. The Daily Nation, the People Daily, and the Standard newspaper, as always, the papers that we have. And we briefly take a look at what the Daily Nation speaks of this morning. On the front page, Ruto Raila power sharing headache, and Game of Thrones, Raila's cabinet already taken shape even before the first ballot is cast, while Ruto is surrounded by an overtly ambitious lot, that is, after demands the spoils of proximity to him should be ascend to power, or should he ascend to power. Forget the polls, the real test of medal comes after victory, and a story captured on page 12 and 13. This ones we'll be looking at as we continue with the broadcast. A day of drama as aspirants seek IEBC nod. Day of drama as aspirants seek IEBC nod. Governor aspirants and across the country were yesterday caught in mad rush to seek final clearance to the independent or by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and we are seeking to see how they are lucky enough to be picked and to vie in the various positions that we are talking about. And so we have seen this essence of clearance across, some being locked out based on the fact that probably they do not have, qualifications in terms of the papers that they have. Others as well are being locked out based on the fact that their running mates are probably not the best of bet according to the IEBC. And so it's been a whole host of conversation as pertaining to who will be cleared and who will not be cleared. We'll be getting to that. No, I will not ban Mitumba, says Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and attack from Kenya Kwanza for the remarks when he says which he says actually were misinterpreted during his manifesto launch. That is Monday evening. The Azimio leader offers clarity, says they is going to come out to make sure that we have, an industrious nation on the aspect of manufacturing, and also making sure that we are able to make our own back at home, have our own textile centers. But that is not to mean then that he will lock the importation of other clothes from different parts of the world. Hope as members of parliament add 158 billion to fuel subsidy scheme, and a move by lawmakers averts a looming crisis in the economy due to high prices of crude. As well, we have had this conversation that members of parliament have adjusted the debt ceiling to about 10 trillion. Remember, there's been a request that it goes all the way to 12 trillion, and we'll be looking at that as we continue with the broadcast, just to see how important it would be in terms of making sure that we realize the growth. They say debt ain't bad. The only problem is that we need to make sure, or the only, what would be important when you incur this debt is to get the accountability aspect and have these monies, channeled towards the right direction. Mitumba trade, the good, the bad, and the ugly. A story captured on page 4, 6, and 7 of the Standard newspaper. Blame game over dollar shortage as well on the business world, or in the business world. You can always grab your copy and get to understand why these talks of inflation and of what ramifications then it would be. NIS secret, Ruto takes on Kibicho. UDA wants NIS complaints board to probe Interior PS Karanja Kibicho for abuse of national intelligence to advance partisan political agenda. Well, the PS was quoted claiming that NIS reports showed Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate would secure about 60% first round win in August poll. And remember, they've been fingers being pointed at the cabinet secretaries who've appeared to probably show their support for Right Honorable Raila Odinga, which most of the people of Kenya Kwanza would argue is not constitutionally right, and that they hold these positions in government. Therefore, they should not be partisan, or they should not show essence of being, supporters of a certain, candidate at the expense of the others. Mr. President, race down to 4. Take your pick. Well, at the end of the IEBC process, 4 out of about 57 presidential aspirants remain standing. They are varied, cast from a one-time spy cum lawyer to tested politicians and perennial aspirant. Well, this sets the stage for grueling fight for voters, and so we'll be looking at that as we continue with the broadcast and as we loop in the guests that I'll have this morning. Members of Parliament push up debt ceiling to 10 trillion. National Assembly raises the debt limit, that is by 1 trillion, to give Treasury headroom to borrow more in a motion opposed by Deputy President Ruto's troops in the House, a story captured on page 11. So we'll be getting into the details of all this. Make sure that you keep it right here. No much happening on the roads this morning, and therefore we shelve that for a moment to pick these stories that have been prepared by my team. Presidential aspirant Jimmy Wanjigi of Safina Party, Third Way Alliance Ekuru Aukot, and Ruben Kigame have promised to challenge the decision by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is to lock them out of the presidential race. The three claim that the electoral body has been applying the law selectively and under instructions to lock them out. Micah Gongo with that.
The three, Jimmy Wanjigi of Safina Party, Third Way Alliance Ekuru Aukot, and independent aspirant Ruben Kigame, have joined forces to castigate the electoral body IEBC against its decision to bar them from vying for the top office.
These are lame attempts, and some of us here were ready for you. We were ready. We knew these things were going to come. Now, Kenyans, are you aware that I don't appear in the list of those who are passed as the four, and I don't even appear in the list of those who are disqualified?
So I think we are dealing with an institution here that, first of all, is clearing the wrong candidates just because they do not want alternative voices like Wills has said.
Don't cut me. Don't cut me.
Wanjigi, who was thrown out due to a lack of a degree certificate, alleged that the commission is under instructions from external forces to bar him from vying.
When you see a subjective application of the law, then it is another force. It is no longer an institution. And we have articulated who that force is, because we believe it is the force that wants to sustain itself in power, wants to remain in power, kinyume cha sheria, contrary to the constitution of this land, that you must vacate after 2 terms. Somebody is trying to extend his term.
I've promised IBC a legal battle royale. We'll come with all our armor and all the laws and all the documents that they've used previously.
In the rigorous process, the commission says the candidates should have at least a bachelor's degree from a recognized institution and have at least 2,000 signatures from at least 24 counties. The poll agency was also keen on verifying details on whether the candidates have been cleared by the registrar of political parties. The candidates should deposit 200,000 shillings nomination fees as well. Dated Code of Conduct and compliant with Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Regulation 42 2C of the Elections General Regulations 2012 provide that a returning officer shall hold a nomination paper invalid on grounds that the candidate is not qualified to be or is disqualified by law to be nominated or elected to the elective post for which nomination is sought.
You asked me a question?
Wanjigi's team argues that one is deemed a graduate after completing coursework. Wanjigi is set to graduate in December this year and insists he is a degree holder by virtue of having completed his coursework at Daystar University.
And the court says, once you have concluded your coursework, you are deemed to be a graduate. That is what the court of law has said. If you have a problem, let me just finish. If you have a problem with that court order, right, which anybody can have a problem with the court order, we are a country of rule of law. There is a process to challenge it. But before that court order is challenged and overturned, it is the law.
Ekuru Aukot, who was disqualified for lack of requisite signatures, accused the IEBC of applying the law selectively. He also claimed that the commission does not have capacity to hold the August 9th general elections after clearing Azimio la Umoja candidate Raila Odinga against what his term says against the law.
If Azimio wanted to nominate a candidate, it can only nominate that person who is a member of that party. And the member of Azimio is not living persons. It's corporate entities called political parties. So I have no problem if Azimio were to give, say, NAC Kenya a certificate to go and run, or ODM to go and run. I had no problem with that. But they gave the certificate to a natural living person who is not a member of Azimio.
Most of the unsuccessful aspirants were turned away because they failed to collect required signatures from voters who are supporting their presidential bids. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
And the newly launched Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Manifesto has been described by Azimio leaders as a transformative agenda on whose backbone the Azimio government will propel the country to the next economic social level. Centered to a 10-point agenda, the Azimio Manifesto is a blend of economic, social and governance transformation promises that the Azimio Coalition Party insists will begin to be implemented on day one in office. Our reporter David Muthoka embarks on an in-depth analysis of a manifesto on which Azimio boss Raila Odinga will be seeking to woo the country in his 5th stab at the presidency.
The 84 pages Azimio Manifesto, unveiled barely 2 months to the August 9th general election, is now set to form the basis of Azimio boss Raila Odinga's campaign promises, while at the same time become his entree should he ascend to power in his 5th stab at the top seat. Themed Mwamkompia, plenty shall be found within our borders, the manifesto has prioritized economic, social and governance transformation, all contained in a 10-point agenda. The agenda comprises of a one county, one product program, otherwise referred to as Azimio la Ugatuzi, growth of MSMEs, otherwise termed as Azimio la Jitihada, gender equality and empowerment, otherwise called Azimio la Kinamama, generation of agricultural bounty, also known as Azimio la Ukulima, as well as growth of the manufacturing sector, also referred to as Azimio la Viwanda.
Diaspora.
The 6th agenda is Azimio la Wananchi, through which the Azimio coalition is promising to safeguard the sovereignty of the Kenyan people and ensure seamless transition in government. Azimio la Wajibikaji, through which Azimio is seeking to combat corruption and enhance public service delivery. West, not a single child agenda that will ensure no Kenyan is locked out of the education system. Maji kwa kila boma agenda, that is a commitment to make clean, safe water available to all Kenyans, as well as the BAMBA care program that primarily focuses on social protection and transformation, and secondly, upscaling universal health coverage to universal health care.
Has been long.
The manifesto is said to be the Azimio coalition's modus operandi until 2027 should the Raila Odinga camp succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta's Jubilee administration.
Our first 100 days in government. What will Azimio government do the first 100 days?
Under the economic revolution, the Azimio coalition is promising to initiate innovative and entrepreneurial approaches to agriculture, promote agro-processing and value addition, establish a livestock insurance scheme backed by an appropriate legal framework, propose life sentence as punishment for the offense of poaching, trafficking and possession of ivory, procure and promote made in Kenya products, come up with a roadmap towards reduction in costs of energy, as well as a roadmap towards a stable petroleum pricing policy.
It is not utopia. It is something that has been worked on by very highly qualified Kenyans. And this is what we are offering.
Still under economic goals within his first 100 days, Odinga is promising to implement recognition of prior learning certification program for the Juakali sector, create a ministry for youth affairs, as well as commence negotiations with financiers or financial institutions for debt restructuring or management in order to ease the burden on the Kenyan people.
Said we don't just want to come and invent things, but we want to be able to represent the views of the people of Kenya.
Under social transformation plans for the first 100 days in office, the Azimio coalition is pledging to initiate cash transfer of 6,000 shillings per month to each vulnerable household, review the cost of living with special focus on the pressure of fuel, unga, mobile data and energy, ensure civil servants retiring continue with their medical cover at government cost, and ensure that all unemployed trained teachers shall be employed in order to improve the quality of education. Under good governance, Odinga is promising to ensure all Azimio members appointed and elected shall sign a specific anti-corruption charter, as well as declare corruption a threat to national security and establish a specialized department within the security agencies dedicated to corruption surveillance.
This manifesto is our contract with the people of Kenya.
David Mudhoka, TV47, Nairobi.
Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga has now defended his sentiments on the Mitumba business, saying it was taken out of context. Sentiments by Odinga and his main rival, Deputy President William Ruto, and UDA flag bearer regarding Mitumba business have now sparked numerous reactions online, and especially among Mitumba traders, many now accusing the two of failing to understand the importance of the trade to the lives of millions of people who depend on it, as Zainab Mohammed reports.
Speaking a day after he released his manifesto, Azimio leader Raila Odinga has defended his sentiments, claiming that it was taken out of context.
Talking about Mitumba yesterday, I did not say we want to kill Mitumba business. No, we'll promote. There will be, you have to when the production starts, there will be these other products coming out of the manufacturing, which these people will be able to take and actually sell, market into our country.
On Monday, Raila said his government would encourage the use of locally manufactured clothes to revive the local market. His sentiments coming just a day after his rival Deputy President William Ruto also promised to revive the local manufacturers as opposed to imported clothes. The sentiments have now elicited a heated debate not just online but among traders in the Mitumba business. Traders at Gikomba market in Nairobi are angry.
Second-hand clothes. Kwa hivyo kama ni za watu wenye wamekufa huwa zinasaidia, haijalishi, huwa zinasaidia na zimefanya zile nguo mpya zenye sisi hatuwezi kuafford, tunavaa hizo.
Anapaswa kukaa chini aitishe msamaha kwa wananchi, sababu sisi tunaona benefit ya hii mtumba. Yeye labda kama vangi ama yeye vile alipatiwa hiyo maoni ikamuingia kwa kichwa yake, si mzuri.
The traders, some of whom hold degrees and diplomas, say the trade puts food on the table for thousands of people.
Watoto wangu wamesoma kwa hii kazi, mimi mwenyewe nakula kwa hii kazi, na kulipa nyumba nalipa nyumba na hii kazi. Kwa hivyo mtumba imenisaidia tangu wakati wenye sikupata ajira, wakati nilikuwa natafuta kibarua nikakosa ajira, nilikuja hapa na nika-invest kwa mtumba, na sasa nimeona maisha yangu imeinuliwa, watoto wangu wamesoma.
The traders are now calling on the next government to take care of their welfare, including taming the constant fire that is witnessed in the market.
Tax yetu pia imekuwa mingi, imekuwa kubwa, so mizigo zinakuwa expensive, so mpaka wale wa chini, wakulima wa chini wanashindwa kubuy sometimes.
The Mitumba sector contributes millions of shillings to the economy every year. DP Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza brigade is yet to release his manifesto. Zainab Mohammed, T47.
Still in the same breath, in the first 100 days, Azimio presidential candidate has promised, among other things, to lower the cost of living by lowering the prices of unga and farm imports. Raila Odinga has also promised to inject over 1 billion shillings as revolving around in the boda sector. Elizabeth Mutuku looks at the first 100 days of Odinga's government that will also have Kalonzo as the chief minister.
In the first 100 days of the Azimio's government, the former Prime Minister has promised to lower the cost of living by lowering the cost of unga, sugar and farm inputs. Odinga in his manifesto says he will also inject 1 billion shillings as a revolving fund to the boda sector in an attempt to lower the cost of living. Raila promising to lower the cost of mobile data and energy, saying this will affect day-to-day life.
Review the cost of living with special focus on fuel, unga, mobile data, and energy.
In his plan, Raila says he will ensure good governance by fighting corruption and declare corruption threat to national government. He promises to establish a special team which will monitor corruption in his government.
We will declare corruption a threat to national security and establish a specialized department in the security agencies for corruption surveillance. This we shall do within our first 100 days in office.
Debt management and public expenditure, which he will inherit over 9 trillion shillings, Raila says his government will commence negotiations for debt restructuring and management to ease the burden on taxpayers. The National Assembly has already increased the debt ceiling to 10 trillion shillings in a House ceiling on Tuesday. This will allow the government to borrow more than 800 million shillings. Further, Raila sent a stern warning to poachers who are likely to face life sentence in the Azimio government in his quest to restore environment and protection of wildlife.
On the issue of environment, we'll propose life sentence as punishment for poaching, trafficking, and the possession of ivory.
His government, he says, is expected to cultivate and invest more in social protection through Inua Jamii program and by implementation of monthly cash transfers and stipends amounting to 6,000 shillings, assistance to single mothers, as well as reviving Kazi Mtaani initiative, which was initiated by the Jubilee government.
Transfer of 6,000 monthly stipend to each of vulnerable households. B, we will commence assistance to single mothers.
The Azimio government also promised to consider youth and micro and small business traders who will be awarded Shahada la Jitihada and initiate funding and trainings for boda boda for better working environment.
Small and medium enterprises, we will implement recognition of prior learning certification program, that is RPL, by awarding certificates to craftsmen, technicians through apprenticeship. Shahada la Jitihada. We'll initiate funding and training for the boda boda.
The first 100 days will also see Wiper boss Kalonzo Musyoka named Chief Minister as promised in the Azimio One Kenya deal. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47.
The Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Ambitious Manifesto launched on a Monday night could cost the taxpayer billions of shillings to implement amid questions on its implementation under the current economic climate. The coalition presidential candidate Raila Odinga allayed the fears on Monday night during the launch, saying the manifesto has been costed by experts to forestall a crisis on its implementation. Apollo Kamau looks at some of the key highlights that have attracted the nation's attention.
Amid pomp and color on Monday night, during the Azimio One Kenya Coalition Manifesto launch, the coalition presidential candidate Raila Odinga moved in to assure Kenyans on his ambitious August 9 election project that it's workable and achievable during his first 100 days in office if he wins the presidential election.
What we are trying to offer is not something that is impractical. It has been costed by our experts. We know exactly where the income is coming from. It's going to fund the program that we are going to release.
Odinga's allies, among them Chairman of the National Assembly Budget Committee and Kenya MP Kanini Kega, have dismissed the perception that the manifesto is populist, while revealing it will cost Kenyans close to 500 billion shillings, an additional burden to a taxpayer already feeling the heat from the high cost of living.
Cumulatively, if we are able to secure 400 billion shillings, which is possible, I mean, we have information that there is a lot of misuse, maybe to a tune of 500 going to 600 billion shillings. So if we are able to get 400 billion shillings, I want to assure you, in the first 1 year, all what BAMBA promised is possible. It will be implementable.
Most of them were generic and good for academic excursion. Because even if you are to take 20 million Kenyans below the poverty line and calculate 6,000, that will drive to around 3/4 of the budget that we have at the moment. So it is not achievable, or both economically and otherwise.
Among the most popular selling point in the manifesto is a 6,000 shillings monthly stipend to vulnerable families, which economic experts have termed as overly optimistic, while questioning its implementation.
Are we looking at another supplementary budget being passed on the next year so that we can cater for these needs? I think it's overly optimistic. It needs a second chance at it. And the other question would be, how would the implementation be handled, given that even some of the basic necessities, when they are awarded to Kenyans, they never get to them? Look at things like bursaries. Not everyone gets, the opportunity to have the budget because it ends up in the wrong pockets.
The Azimio Manifesto, a product of nationwide consultations, dubbed listening tours, has further promised to employ all unemployed teachers countrywide, pay the youth through the Kazi Mtaani initiative, make health accessible to all under BAMBA Care Health Program, support single mothers, and tame the cost of living, while renegotiating the country's public debt payments. Apol Kamau, TV47.
Deputy President William Ruto led Kenya Kwanza rallies in Wajir County, seeking to rally the region behind him. Meanwhile, his running mate, Rigathi Gachagua, hosted leaders allied to Deputy President in campaigning in the Nyeri County, where they accused Raila of planning to revive the BBI. Paul Kirobi with the details.
For the second day, Deputy President William Ruto and his allies have been pitching tent in northeastern region. Tuesday, traversing Wajir County. Ruto telling locals that Raila planned to revive the Building Bridges initiative if he clinches top seat come August, a move he says will see the region stand to lose in terms of resources allocation. Mnajua, hiyo mpango ambayo ilikuwa ndani ya BBI ilikuwa imesema ya kwamba hiyo mpango ya BBI ni kupunguza pesa inayokuja hapa Wajir. Mimi nataka niwaulize, hiyo mpango ilikuwa inasukuma na ule mtu ya kitendawili? Mulimwambia mtu ya kitendawili amuhitaji pesa? Watu wa Wajir mnahitaji pesa ama muhitaji pesa? The DP was accompanied by Wajir Deputy Governor Ali Ahmed Mukhtar, and a host of MPs is banking on the Deputy Governor Ahmed Mukhtar to deliver Wajir votes during the August polls. Ruto's allies took a jab at the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate for what they termed as participating in stealing from public coffers through the handshake deal.
Wale ndo walikula pesa ya KEMSA. Wale ndo walikula pesa ya Wakenya wagonjwa. Wewe na rafiki yako, watoto wenu, familia zenu.
With less than 62 days to elections, the Deputy President William Ruto has been holding economic model forum before proceeding for a political rally in advancing his bottom-up economic model. Ruto promised to address the issue of unemployment, banking on the agriculture sector that has been a major challenge to the locals, and boosting small businesses if elected. Tunaweka bilioni 100 kwa mambo ya agro-processing, value addition, manufacturing, housing, ndio tupange ajira ya vijana wa taifa letu la Kenya. Elsewhere, the Kenya Kwanza coalition leaders led by William Ruto's running mate Rigathi Gachagua today led the bottom-up campaigns in Nyeri County. The Madira Member of Parliament called off Azimio la Umoja Raila Odinga for his plans against the mitumba business in the country, saying that it's now evident that Raila means no good for the people. The coalition leaders have continued to ask Mount Kenya people to rally behind Ruto, dismissing their competitors. Gatundu South Member of Parliament Moses Kuria has continued to blame President Kenyatta for all the economic and political challenges facing the mountain. Paul Kirobi, TV47.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has locked out former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko from running for the Mombasa gubernatorial seat. Meanwhile, the Wafula Chebukati-led commission has also locked out Karungo Wagathangwa from running for the Kiambu senatorial seat. And as Mwangi Maina reports, Senators Sakaja, Kangata and Malala have been cleared to run for the gubernatorial positions.
But I need to be there. Everything, whatever I'm doing, must go live.
The woes bedeviling former Kiambu County CAC for Youth and Sports Karungo Wagathangwa are far from being over after the Kiambu County returning officer denied to clear him to vie for the senatorial seat under the United Democratic Alliance Party. The returning officer told Karungo that he was under clear instructions not to clear him and referred him back to the IEBC headquarters in Nairobi. This even after Karungo presenting papers from the High Court, where a 3-judge bench gave him the green light to present his papers to the IEBC. While discharging the orders that barred the IEBC from clearing Karungo, Justices David Maj
It's a bit of a hitch there, but all the same, we have gotten it right. And at this very point, we get to the conversation. The guests that I have on set already on standby for the conversation that we'll be getting into. And I see one of them is having 2 cups of coffee. He will try and explain why he has 2, in as much as it's a family of Morning Cafe and it's about coffee. That is Kevin Osido. Kevin Osido, good morning.
Morning to you, Linda.
You've been well? I'm good. How are you?
Looking very bright in your eye. Is it the yellow or do gold?
This is not yellow, please. Let us be clear. Gloria Oroba, this cannot be yellow. Thank you, though, for saying that I look good, but this is not yellow by.
Okay.
Gloria is wearing yellow.
All right.
That is yellow with confidence, you say.
But why is everyone saying this is yellow, but no one
because
is saying...
Because it is yellow.
Which color is that?
Because men are colorblind.
No. Which color is that?
In a greenish what shade of green is this?
It's one of those ones with a funny name like burgundy or something. One of those 2 funny names.
And it's a green. It's not a yellow.
No problem.
It is not a yellow at all. Well, you know it's a political season, so you need to tread carefully, lest you are labeled.
Must be turquoise.
Turquoise green. Turquoise green is a little bit different.
Okay.
But yeah, well, thank you so much. And governance expert Kevin Osido is here in studio. Gloria Oroba, how are you?
Good morning. I'm fine.
And Gloria Oroba is a youth policy analyst. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Thank you for creating a time. And those ones that are very silent today, I do not know why. The Azimio team. It's an honor to have you after a very long time. Solomon Kuria.
Asante.
Azimio Youth League, right?
Yes.
Chairperson.
Yes.
Siasa inaendelea mzuri. Naona mmejipanga kabisa.
Kabisa. We are taking it. It's
You're
coming
all
home.
smiles, eh?
It's
Are you not
coming
worried that you let the cat out of the bag mapema sana?
By the way, Alela, today, it is 1 against 3. 1 lady against 3 gentlemen.
No, you
what
two-thirds. Two-thirds.
No,
what ni Azimio?
Hata Mark Bichache ni Azimio. Huyu ni Azimio. No. But it's okay. It's
Gloria,
okay.
It's the Azimio manifesto that is out. And so we'll be discussing the Azimio
At
manifesto.
least the beauty is that she's declared that she is
always
in
been.
UDF.
She has always been.
Solomon is public knowledge.
She is supported by her colors.
Mimi niko tu. Probably
Your
Jubilee.
colors somehow also
Kevin
try to support you.
Akwazimio ndani.
Gloria.
Ndani kabisa.
Kevin akijaribu kutoroka kwa sababu there's a time he declared hapa on set, so I keep using that.
He's in Azimio.
No. Say he's in Azimio.
He's in
Azimio.
Azimio.
He's a staunch believer
Supporter
of
the
what
president.
Uhuru Kenyatta said.
Precisely.
In fact, he's the one who should have been put CAS, not Osiani.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
Gloria.
I will take the tag governance expert.
Gloria akona info zingine zenye zinatatanisha sana. Anyway, it's a good thing to be here with Gloria. You know, the last time we were here,
was bad.
we had
The
a
last time
serious
was bad.
spat. But I hope that she'll allow us to speak.
Today, by the way, I should be protected.
You are protected by the virtue that
anyone who wants to walk out of set, allow them. Let them walk out.
Are you ready and set?
No, we'll have a very good show.
That is not what we're doing.
Yeah,
we're starting on a very good note. And that's the beauty of it, that, above everything, politics does not make us enemies. Solomon, you could be lost in this talk. The last time I had the two of them, one of them walked out of set, Kevin, kwa sababu ni kama aliona UDA imemgonga sana.
Gloria,
pressure ilipanda. Na unajua hii siasa haitakangi nini? Tuliambiwa unaweka wapi? Kwa land.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Right? To have them on set again is a good thing. Do we have Mark Bichache on standby? Okay. We need to get a hold of Mark Bichache so that as well. All right. Mark Bichache, if you can hear me. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good. Karibu sana. Thank you for creating time. Mark Bichache is a communication strategist. Santi sana for creating time. Your chance to declare whether you sit in the Azimio side or what is this that Gloria is saying?
I don't sit on the Tanga side. That is where I don't sit.
Okay.
I don't sit in any other political divide. Okay. I don't sit Tanga. That is the only issue.
We have 4 presidential candidates.
Yeah.
So it could be...
These are Azimio people.
Could be with Wajakoya.
It could be Wajakoya. It could be the Roots Party.
Bichache is system.
Gloria and UDA find great joy in creating differences and divisions among people. Some of us are just anti-Ruto, that's all we are.
Okay, well, this is interesting. It's going to be a nice conversation, and we are here to see how it goes. Yesterday I heard Zach Kinodia, former CAS, and now vying for a constituency seat somewhere.
Kigumo.
It should be in Muranga, right? Kigumo is in Muranga County, yes. And he says one thing he can predict about this election, now that you mentioned Wajakoya, is that he will take position number 3. And therefore he's a force to reckon with.
No, that's a special case. I think, I mean, we are, as a country, we are sick if we can even discuss Wajakoya. A man who publicly says he will legalize bank, even before the constitution allows that. And he's cleared by IEBC. I mean, we are a joke as a country. But I mean, already, if I'm arrested, if my car has some bang, I think I'm going to spend some years in jail. Then we have a man who is making such pronouncements, and as a country, we clear him to run.
There's someone who's watching.
I'm telling you, we are sick as a country.
But
that person should not even
is that not misplaced?
Anywhere. You see,
no.
It is not misplaced.
Okay.
For instance, if we get, what is the difference between that and someone who comes here and advocates for rape? It is illegal, isn't it?
It is.
What is the difference between that and a party that comes and says we are going to add a prime minister and a deputy prime minister, because that in itself is not in the constitution.
So that is illegal.
All the times I've attended your show,
we're getting to that. We're coming to you.
You see, all the times I've attended your show, I believe
you always wait for.
You are allowed, yes.
Proceed. But once in a while,
so that we don't lose our thoughts. We don't lose thoughts.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is this: what would be the difference between that and someone advocating for rape or any other crime?
Okay.
Would they be cleared to vie? Would they be? I mean, we need to see what this drug has done to our young people in the villages. And then we have someone on TV set saying, I am going to allow this to happen. And we clear him to vie.
Solomon, do you want us to live in denial? Because this thing is in society. And like you rightfully put it well, it could be a damage to a majority of the people. It has been, yeah?
Yes.
But it's somehow a reality that we're having. And we're talking about this in comparison to the LGBT community in the United States, say, for instance. Today, you find presidential candidates, will always want to appeal to this community. And therefore, this is a constituency that you probably do not want to ignore. And the irony of it all is that there's one person who's watching and he's saying, hey, Linda, we have been attacked, Wajakoya the 5th, for obvious reasons, And so these are people that are Kenyans, and probably he is just trying to say, let's have this conversation and make sure that while this is something that we detest in a in a noble way. Let's try and see how we can handle this. But anyway, we're coming to that as we allow the rest to as well weigh in on that. Mark Bichache, you had some submissions pertaining to that?
First is to say that the reality are changing across the world. The traditional approach of where drugs are illegal are being tested out, and a lot of countries have found out that in places where you allow for good environment, and you have less impact on your society because you avoid things like overdose, you avoid things like dependency, you avoid a lot of issues that come around the use of different drugs. So it is not right to dismiss what Wajakoya is saying offhand. I do not support him, but what he is saying is resonating, and I can assure you he will be that number 3 in this coming election, simply because there are lots of young people, and indeed adults today, who consider marijuana less harmful than alcohol. Alcohol is legal. And if you look at our country death tolls, alcohol causes more deaths than marijuana. So you want to legalize marijuana on the fact that it also is claimed to have a lot of health benefits. So I will not be too quick to dismiss Wajakoya and his idea of legalizing weed, because there is scientific evidence that actually weed is not as bad as alcohol. It is not going to impact our society as badly. And thirdly, there's a case to be made about its economic potency as an export drug. It's something that can be exported. We can make revenue out of it. Uganda has created tracts of land for people to export weed from, and cannabis oil is selling. So it's not a one-track thing. There are many facets to it, and I think he deserves a hearing. I think we need to listen to his ideology.
Gloria, economic and medicinal value are some of the key things that he highlights, are the reasons behind him saying that we should have this conversation as pertaining to marijuana. We have seen countries that have as well legalized this, and in his own wisdom, he thinks that this should be the way to go. While others would point fingers, others like Bichache says he deserves a hearing. But as well, is this the only sole thing that we should be focusing on when we're talking about presidential manifestos? These promises that you accord to the people. One says that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga gave us his the other day. The Wajakoya one is almost out already because it's all about marijuana and marijuana and marijuana. What would you say of that?
First, I want to say, I've said so many times that we have, what we've done to people, a constituency of people that we don't agree with, we've criminalized them, or we've made like the poor, we automatically make them the thugs. The people who come out with other ideas that are not considered the conventional ideas, we've automatically, like now you can hear, we've criminalized them. The only reason why you are arrested if you have bangi is because we have actually, it is not legal. It is not legal, and so therefore you will be arrested because it is not legal. The same way abortion is not legal. So all the candidates who are coming, they are coming with all these promises. Most of them include amendments to our constitution. When he's talking about Wajakoya, I mean, you cannot equate it to rape, you cannot equate it to thuggery, you cannot equate it, because this is actually the angle with which Wajakoya is coming with is on the medicinal level. And even if he doesn't come on the medicinal level and just say we need to actually legalize this substance, what he's looking at, and I have actually listened to some of those clips, which people laugh about, when he talks about the highways and those plants on the highways, yoyote lazima ikue bangi and things like that. This is a person who, within his setup in this our community of Kenya, he has thought about how he's going to empower certain people, including farmers. When we talk about high value crops, if you compare the price per kg of maize and bangi, literally, if we were not looking at what we are using it for, the high value crop there is bangi. So you see him, he's looking at, that is his idea, that is his vision for this country. And as a Kenyan, he actually has a right. For me, I don't want to say that I support that. And I don't want to say that I'm going to push for that. But what I want to say is, we have to have an understanding in this country, and I speak this particularly to my co-panelist who ultimately criminalizes anything that he does not resonate with. We have to have tolerance, because this country is for all of us. It's for the poor, It's for the ones who think within the box. It's for the Christians, it's for the Muslims, it's for the Indians. So it's even for the candidates who come and they want to push an ideology of legalizing marijuana. And the beauty about it, and I'm glad he was cleared, is that he was not discriminated based on his vision. Because if we were going to discriminate candidates based on their vision, let me tell you, the first person that should have been removed from that ballot is Raila Amolo Odinga. Exactly. Because his vision on the constitutional amendments, which he still has within his manifesto, still takes us back to the thing that Kenyans rejected, which is BBI. So can you imagine if me as an IEBC...
Kenyans rejected the BBI
No, we rejected it. Can you imagine if me as IEBC was if I was very biased that zile vitu zenye mimi unajua ni Mkristo. Kwa hivyo maneno ya bangi sitaki kusikia. So these candidates I will, you can't do that. So the issue here is, are your papers right? Wajakoya's papers, imagine shockingly,
are extraordinarily
there. His signatures are there.
Why do you say shockingly?
No, shockingly, because there is an assumption that watu wa bangi, they cannot put anything together, because that is the vision we have of bangi, because it has been used as substance abuse.
Interestingly today, Gloria, the elite.
And let me finish by saying this. My home in Denmark, I have a home in Denmark. My home in Denmark, literally, across the road from my home, like we have an access road, across the road is the biggest commercial greenhouse of bangi in the world. Yeah, which now they are actually growing to export for medicinal purposes. So now, and then I'm sitting next to a person who's saying that guy is criminal.
We'll take a short break. And I mean, Solomon is in, his right position to as well argue in that way. So before you say something, wacha tuende break alafu turudi useme kitu.
TV47 Country Ride brings you the great country music entertainment show. Dust your boots, put your hats, and ride the night with us. Up from San Antonio. Yes, from all regions in Kenya. Country Ride gives you the best musical experience to you and your family. She's the lead. Bring out the best of country magical moments by celebrating our fans' music, powered by DJ Stiga and host CK the Cowgirl.
Watch the Country Ride every Sunday, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m.
only on TV47, the home of great entertainment.
Let's ride to the night together.
This is the grind. Only those who will risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go. T.S. Eliot.
So I decided, let me just take this up, put the teaching on hold first. Let me try see where this can go.
I mean, the opportunities are a lot. But is that all you need? Oh wait, there's more. This seems a little too much. Let's slow it down.
You do this is something you do out of passion.
Join me, Violet Njoki, as I navigate through the maze of the increasingly dynamic business environment and quiet down the noises. As I help you flourish in business every Monday at 7:30 p.m.
Duma Pain Balm. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari. Watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
And karibu back to the broadcast, still unpacking so much about the Azimio One Kenya manifesto, as well as looking at the presidential options that we have in the sense of the individuals that have been cleared by the IEBC. David Mwaure, we also have Deputy President William Ruto, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and George Wajakoya. The conversation largely begins from that point of George Wajakoya and whether indeed it is almost certain that he will be garnering position 3 by the virtue of the fact that we have these conversations that are underneath. They say his constituents are those ones that wamenyamaza huko chini because, well, the whole thing that he's advocating for is illegal in the country. But then it's an act that is playing out hugely. Kevin Osido, governance expert, is with me this morning. Mark Bichache's communication strategist joining us virtually. Solomon Kuria is the head or the chair of Azimio Youth League, as well as Gloria Oroba, youth policy analyst, as we unpack this. Kevin, we come to you. Maneno ya marijuana. Sitaki kusema bangi, ina sound kama tunafanya dhambi hapa kwa set tayari.
You know, I had to send my provost a text message to let him know that I'll be talking about bangi just now, so that when he sees it, he should not victimize me on Sunday. But that is just to say that these are some of the realities that we really have to deal with. First, to the issue is that our elections thrive in a lot of controversies, and I wouldn't be shocked if Mheshimiwa Wajakoya actually comes third after Raila, Uhuru, Mheshimiwa Ruto, and then Wajakoya and others.
Did you just say Uhuru?
And I said Raila, Uhuru, and then Mheshimiwa Ruto.
Uhuru.
And so, for me, looking at the past campaigns and the manners in which Kenyans have had their elections, a lot of controversies play really take the front seat. And there are many examples that we can be able to give, including how Mheshimiwa Sonko was elected governor, when people actually thought that this one cannot make it. But he actually became governor of Nairobi for some years. The most important thing for me is what is NACADA's verdict, because Kenya has an agency which is called a National Anti-Drug Substance Agency that is supposed to actually deal with this kind of concerns. Have they made any advisories on the matter? Have they made any pronouncements on the issue? Because trust you me, the realities of drug and substance abuse in Kenya and the ravaging effects among young people are true. And we cannot underestimate the fact that we have lost lives and we continue to lose many lives. And so when a presidential candidate says, I will legalize, of course I'll tell you that it will not be legalized even when he becomes, or let me say if he becomes president of Kenya. Looking at the global conversations, not to say that, of course, in certain countries like in Canada in 2018, when they decided to legalize cannabis and made it a recreational gesture, you know, where if you feel that you want to have some pints of smoke, you walk into certain safe spaces. When the analysis was done, ultimately, at the end of the year, they had raised over 98,000 jobs for people just to go pick some pieces and go and sell. And the GDP of the country, just the contribution of cannabis alone, was over $40 billion. And so you look at the economic aspects vis-a-vis the social ramifications, and in this case, we look at the pronouncements of government, even around simple things like Busa, like Changa, in certain parts of this country. It is terrible, and it is a story that I think it would be quite unfortunate if at the presidential level, we want to have conversations around marijuana. But of course, as I said, Linda, controversy thrives very well in our politics. Mheshimiwa Wajakoya is a good friend of mine. We have had conversations around his proposal to legalize cannabis. He knows where I stand. And trust you me, as I said, I do not think that even when he becomes, or rather if he becomes president, marijuana is going to be legalized in Kenya. I don't think so.
All right, but we expect that he would present some more in regards to a manifesto that will appeal to the people of Kenya, because it goes beyond this.
No, he has many things. He's even said that he'll shorten the week from Monday to Thursday so that Kenyans have a long holiday beginning on a long weekend beginning on Friday. Justina Wamai, Wamboi, who is a good friend of mine and we are alumnus of DStv together, actually said that she's looking forward to them winning so that she can have her first smoke of marijuana on their swearing day. And I'm imagining what would be happening with the security apparatus around them and the Chief Justice, and you know. So we are headed towards serious, funny-looking moments. And as I said again, controversy and good, well-told stories do very well with our politics.
You see, I want to engage Solomon, but I'll hold this. Mark, kindly close this for us. While we could castigate Solomon, do you suppose he has a point that indeed it is a joke at this time where, you know, it's a progressive nation, we're looking at priorities, we're looking at the aspects of the economy, we're looking at how we're going to balance the game, the difficulties that the people of Kenya are going through. Does it sound like a joke to you that we really are having, you know, a well-learned individual presenting such, and that there are people who will definitely come out to celebrate the same, while deep down we understand the ramifications that would come along with that?
Well, you know, it depends really entirely on whether you take the whole issue of cannabis use from a religious perspective or from a scientific perspective. Scientifically speaking, the effects of marijuana are much less than the effects of alcohol. For example, we have many more youths affected by alcohol in rehab, struggling to make their lives work, than we do young people struggling with weed and marijuana. So it really is a religious question. It is a moral question. And in terms of morality, just like alcohol, it is immoral. But in terms of the real world we live in today, I think whether we like it or not, even the top two presidential candidates will have to really grapple with the matter of whether to legalize it or not. Given its prevalent use in this country, it's almost iconic status in American media today and in Western media today. The reality that a lot of young people are turning to it in terms of being able to deal with their emotional and psychological situations, I don't think it's something we can wish away. But for Wajakoya himself, I it on as an attention grabbing activity. I don't think he's running to win the presidency. I think he wants the attention. And look at us. We've given him the attention. We've given him over 20 minutes of primetime TV. So in terms of him getting attention, yes, he's doing very well. He's been talked about all over social media. And remember, there was a presidential candidate who made us laugh about eating lunch whenever we are hungry instead of waiting for lunchtime. And he got 50,000 votes. He almost got the same votes as Peter Kenneth. So let's not take him for granted. In terms of getting attention, he will get attention. And that attention
will this land him anywhere by any chance? Because we understand how sometimes attention can work in favor of you. And as we close this one in totality, Solomon, that sometimes you say aim at the sun and you will get to the moon. And this attention, we have seen people getting chances to be, you know, in the cabinets, courtesy of this kind of attention. You understand the role that the likes of Ekuru Aukot played at some point in time and were very instrumental, you know, in the talk of politics moving forward. So this attention is likely to land him somewhere lucrative?
Not at all. He will not even get close to what Abduba Dida got.
Okay.
And Abduba is nowhere today in our current setup. So it will not get him anywhere. He should use the knowledge he has acquired through the systems set in this country and beyond to help Kenyans. More than that. He can do more than that than joking around presidency. Yes. Okay, well, let's close that for a moment. And I will get to the Azimio agenda, because it's what we have on the table, apart from that one that has been presented to us by, you know, the likes of Wajakoya. We're almost certain of what is presented. Joshua Mburu is watching and say, well, a host of things that he has mentioned about the 6K, you know, stipend, and he says, you know, they're not paying rent because of that. We have money for elders. Do they even get this money that we could want to promise Kenyans on this? And he says, really, Right Honorable Raila Odinga is all about, you know, just making sure that the interest of, you know, Kenyatta is well protected and, you know, taken care of. While we would look at this as baseless, you know, it's the reality on ground, it's the feel on ground. Gloria, what do you make of the manifesto that was presented to us Monday, and has it sent jitters? Has it got the other side making adjustments on the original document? It is possible, yes.
No. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, if you listen to some of the things that they had put in the manifesto, they were inspired by the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. And they were inspired by the Kenya Kwanza messaging that has been going out. You know, when you even look at just taglines like Pesa Mfukoni. Pesa Mfukoni is Kenya Kwanza.
Okay. They
had Pesa Mfukoni. So no, it has not changed anything. Actually, it is, I'm a bit impressed actually, let me say this, because for the first time ever, Raila Odinga in his 5 times of running has actually just gotten away from Tibim and Tialala and nonsense. And for the first time, he has messaging, real messaging. Okay. So I'm impressed. Let me say that I'm impressed.
First time?
And yeah, because all these other elections were about Tibim, Tialala. You'll go and say, Mko, Tibim, Tialala. You know, now...
Gloria, you've been looking at the manifestos, and at some point in time, you've been a supporter of Right Honorable Raila Odinga.
Please understand, I have said,
manifestos
for the first
there.
time, he has messaging. Why are you people refusing to understand? Messaging in his campaign. You know, people have manifestos, they launch it, then they put it away, and then they go back to campaigns. Okay. For the first time, he has messaging in his campaign. Because the last 4 times that he has run, he's been running on Tibim, Tialala, and Tuko.
And you were excited about that when you were once...
Because I had the privilege of having read the manifesto. Most Kenyans
had no.
Yeah, so then they just know Tibim Tialala. But that's what I'm saying, for the first time, and I'm impressed and I'm giving that credit, that now he has messaging. And I'm actually thinking this is a good thing because, you know, Hustler Nation movement decided to introduce this issue-based politics, and everyone just had to go that direction. So I'm impressed. There are good things in the manifesto. You know, you can't trash a whole manifesto. There are good things in the manifesto that they had. There are promises that are just promises, which are, for instance, the teachers thing, yeah? They promise that they are going to employ the 300,000 teachers that are not employed, which is very doable. I'm not saying it's not doable. But the same person saying that they are going to promise employ the 300,000 teachers, because, you know, currently now there's around 300,000 teachers that have not been employed, and about 298 or 300 others that are employed. And the TSC budget is 298 billion. So them saying they'll employ, you know, an equivalent will double that budget. I'm not saying it's not doable. What I'm saying is we have Raila Odinga, who is technically in government, who is technically, because tumesikia hata Uhuru Kenyatta akisema unajua at least huyo mzee ananisaidia. And yet that same government that is fronting him and pushing him as a project has not been able to just deal with the current CBAs for the teachers. The teachers have come out threatening so many times that please fulfill the commitment under the CBAs that you made with us. So I wish, you know, it's not that it can't be done. It is like a bad boyfriend who has let you down so many times, and then they keep coming back to tell you, but you know, tomorrow, by the way, kesho. Okay. So there's that issue of trust. But, and of course, Mutumba, I won't talk about Mutumba because...
that was taken out of context.
No, because it was not taken out of context. The issue with Raila Odinga's utterances on Mutumba is not the content. It is his attitude towards poor people, towards mid and low-level income earners. We have seen this when he talked about the wheelbarrow and called them takataka. We have seen this when he actually went to the fish restaurant and said, mtu ako na degree anafanya nini akiuza samaki. The issue with Raila Odinga is his attitude towards poor people and actually low-income earners.
That is not what we have seen. He's represented Kibra.
No, I'm telling you, you know, this is what I'm giving you examples. I've actually cited examples.
Make it brief.
I've actually cited examples. So the Mtumba issue, whether taken out of context or not, for me, what I've picked out, ni mtoto wako na madharau kwa watu ambao hawakuzaliwa State House. That's the thing. Right there. Then finally, the other thing I want to say on that, come to you, no, the manifesto, because I've highlighted the education and I've highlighted the other thing. The Baba Care is just, it's good, we have it, and I think what he wants to say is the vulnerable houses, and I want to analyze it for the electorate. Vulnerable houses, it doesn't mean an individual, it means a home. So for instance, if you are Maasai and you are out there, none of you are going to benefit from that Baba Care, because everybody, every Maasai household has 12 to 20 people, one of them definitely earns an income.
Hold it,
So Masai, forget it. Ukienda pale, no, ukienda, no, vulnerable, and we have seen how they've said vulnerable. Masai, by the way, wherever you are, Baba Keasienu, Wakikuyu, in your households, I promise you, there will be no vulnerable household, because in each Kikuyu household, kama tuko watu 7, moja ni house girl, moja kona ni mechanic, and as long as there's an income earner in that household, you will not benefit.
So you see, this manifesto is out there for the people to say everything and anything about it, and therefore you should accept
that
what
Baba
it is.
Care will boil down to Luo Nyanza. Baba Care will boil down to Luo Nyanza, because Luo Nyanza is the only household that you can find 6 or 7 people and all who are unemployed.
No, I am waiting for Gloria to speak.
I'm done. Yeah.
Because I don't want us to have an occurrence. I wouldn't want to comment on the propaganda that Gloria is spewing, because I think the manifesto is very clear. It is direct, and the presidential candidate of Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Alliance, has indicated that there was research which was done, and most of the speakers, or some of the speakers who spoke at the launch of the manifesto forum, indicated that conversations were had, particularly Mheshimiwa Junet Mohammed, that conversations were had with regional leaders and up to the 47 counties. And that, for me, Linda, is a very clear mechanism of what the aspirations and the dreams of the Kenyans in the Constitution really is. That sovereignty of the people in Article 1.1 really needs to be given that prominence, the space, and the opportunity when those kind of opportunities arise. And so OCA and Azimio la Umoja has done just that in terms of presenting the voices of the people and how the people believe or imagine or think that their president should be able to respond to their needs. And so the 10-point agenda items, and also moving even further to look at the 100 days, really, in my view, presents a trajectory, a roadmap, and a mechanism within which the Azimio la Umoja government will be able to meet the needs of Kenyans, and even go further and enhance accountability. Because within 100 days, people like Kevin Osido will be writing and asking, you promised this, where is it? You said you'd do this, where is it? And those really present spaces where then citizens can begin to hold their governments to account. Whether, I don't want us to look at this manifesto from an ethnic perspective, because when you say Masais will not have, only Luos, because the presidential candidate is a Luo, I think it's far-fetched, and it's taking us from very nasty past experiences that Kenyans have come from, and which we do not want to go back to. This government is a government of everybody, and the election is an election of everybody. There is no particular ethnic group that is going to be secluded. Whether your presidential candidate wins or loses, there's going to be a Kenya for everyone. And so the opportunity for us that we have is to look at the manifesto from whether it is agriculture, and they said there's Azimio za ukulima, there is manufacturing, and that manufacturing conversation is very heavy, Linda, because if you look at, for instance, the past experiences of Kenya and cotton growing, and Azimio la Umoja is saying, we have had this experience before, but the import of mitumba has actually messed up many counties today, and we are talking Siaya, we are talking Kericho, we are talking places like Muranga, where cotton has been tried. We are talking places like Taita Taveta, with heavy acres of land which is lying fallow with nothing going on. And so if a government, if somebody interested in presidency comes and says, we have talked to people from these particular places, and we are of the opinion that if we can be able to increase investment within the farmers who grow cotton, to then open up industries that have fallen down, like Kikomi, and begin to look at what the EPZ in Athi River is doing. And that is a locally owned, locally bred, locally managed enterprise. Why not focus on opportunities, therefore, that can be able to enhance those chances for more number of Kenyans to be employed? Not to say that the mitumba sector does not employ Kenyans. When Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga says, What business has a degree owner got to do with selling fish? That is exactly what it is, because you go to school to get a degree, and today we have IEBC locking out people because they don't have degrees, and we must enhance the space of a degree in a society, so that when you go to school to get a degree, your space is not in selling fish. And the government is saying, we are going to ensure that when you have gone to school and invested in knowledge, which is an exchange for money, because we have people selling acres and cattle of land all over this country to go to school. And that space is not in selling fish. That space is for you to be much more valuable and be provided a space within government or within opportunities where then your brain can be much more valuable. Linda, it's a conversation that we have had, even with the border industry. We have master's graduates who are doing border. Not to say that border is bad, but why can't government invest in opportunities where the GDP of the country could be equated to the value that individuals and households have to sacrifice to be able to take their kids to school? And that is what I read from the education mechanism, from the manufacturing, even the teacher business. When we talk about the numbers, remember we have education which is devolved and we have national government education. There is a specific amount of money, billions, that National Treasury gives to Ministry of Education for national level engagements. We have not even gone to ECD for counties, which is the highest employer for teachers. What is the county government's investments, all the 47 counties, on education? As we speak today, education service delivery, the education sector, is the highest employer even within the county governments.
And we'll come to that. We'll come to that.
It's not selling fish, it's running a business. It's not selling fish, it's running a business that's creating employment.
Gloria, hold it right there. Solomon, allow us to look in Bichache Kidogo and then we come to you. Mark, communication in this case is crucial, and we understand how important it is to release your manifesto to the people so they can, go through it, read, understand, unpack what is incorporated, counter what the enemy then would present in terms of, how they interpret this document. How crucial will it be for the Azimio One Kenya team to set up a proper communication, entity that is going to address, address in the sense of making sure that the people understand what is incorporated in this document, and as well counter misinterpretations, if you would want to call it, that would come from, the enemies, or so to speak, or the opponents?
Well, one of the things that has clearly been exhibited by my good friend Gloria Roba is the propensity of any opposition to basically try and smear the manifesto with a lot of propaganda. And the Inawezekana agenda, as it was launched, it does not just communicate about promises. It communicates about things that are possible. It is an agenda of what is possible. Now, we need to therefore look at the document and ask ourselves, are these things possible to do? So, for example, when we talk about that the Azimio agenda does not care for the lower cadres of society, we then have to conveniently forget that this document talks about Azimio la Jitihada, recognizing the hard work of Kenyans. And one of the ways of doing that is giving certification, Shahada la Jitihada it is called, to people who work in the Juakali sector so that they can get their diplomas in what they do. Now, how is this important? It is important because instead of giving them handouts, you're actually giving them a leg up, a boost for them to be able to be recognized, for them to work in even more structured industries. Because one of the reasons a lot of people are stuck doing Juakali is they cannot go to a factory and say, I've got this many years of experience, can you hire me? Now, what happens now is they're able even to outsource their services. So how important is communication? Communication is important because what needs to be done with the Azimio agenda, in the Inawezekana agenda, is to be able to distill what are the quick wins for Kenyans. What is Raila Odinga and Martha Karua, what are they going to do within the first 100 days? There are promises there about reducing the cost of living, looking at the taxation regime. There are promises about looking into agriculture and how it is done. But most importantly, there are promises there to deal with corruption. Why is this important? The biggest problem Kenya has is that we have politicians who will be corrupt about their degrees, will be corrupt about the land they own, will be corrupt about how they choose a deputy, etc. And when the moment we have such a society, we can be sure that the promises we are being given do not work. So the other thing they need to communicate is the question, who do you trust to deliver? Do you trust Martha Karua to deliver, or do you trust Rigathi Gachagua? Do you trust a former Minister of Justice and Water, or do you trust a former DO of Molo in 1997 when things went belly up very badly for certain communities? Do you trust Raila Odinga with the roads he has built, or do you trust the owner of Weston Hotel? This is where it's going to be. A promise is only as good as the promiser. If Mark Bichachi promises you a matchbox, you can trust him. If I promise you a Ferrari, please don't trust me. So the question is, who are the Kenyan people going to trust? And that is the question that ASIC really needs to ask. Who are the good people selling a good story, and who are the snake oil salesmen selling snake oil to the
Fair
community?
enough, fair enough. How about we take a short break and then we come back to you, Solomon? So I give you ample time after this break.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories. TV 47 Country Ride brings you the great country music entertainment show. Dust your boots, put your hats, and ride the night with us.
Up from San Antonio.
Yes, from all regions in Kenya. Country Ride gives you the best musical experience to you and your family.
She's the lead.
Bring out the best of country magical moments by celebrating our fans' music, powered by DJ Stiga and host CK the Cowgirl.
Watch the Country Ride every Sunday, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Only on TV 47, the home of great entertainment.
Let's ride to the night together.
This is The Grind. Only those who will risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go. T.S. Eliot.
So I decided, let me just take this up, put the teaching on hold first. Let me try see where this can go.
I mean, the opportunities are a lot. But is that all you need? Oh wait, there's more. This seems a little too much. Let's slow it down.
You do this is something you do out of passion.
Join me, Violet Njoki, as I navigate through the maze of the increasingly dynamic business environment and quiet down the noises. As I help you flourish in business, every Monday at 7:30 p.m.
Wakey, wakey, time for fun. Can you sing or dance?
I need your love, I need your time.
Now, let's get artsy.
We are doing paper montage, and what we need is gazettes, my glue, scissors, and luminous paper.
Get your bin bag, it's story time.
Today we're reading the story about Thumbelina, Little Tiny. Have you read this story before?
Every Saturday at 9 a.m., Kids on the Block, your home of unlimited fun.
The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. as we traverse
Gloria Ugoba, we have Solomon Kuri as well as Kevin Osido. And so lots of feedback coming in. There's one person who's watching. Gloria, this one goes to you. I don't want you to answer, of course, because we're coming to Solomon, but he says, KK, Kenya Kwanza says it will unveil its manifesto in 10 days. So what manifesto will it be unveiling? Is it Kenya Kwanza or UDA manifesto? And because it appears like Kenya Kwanza, well, Kenya Kwanza is not a party, and therefore, what exactly will Kenyans be treated to as we await for this manifesto? So, Solomon Kuria, you rejoined us pertaining to the argument that has been there, and that you are out there driving the agenda, the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza, of Azimio la Umoja. You will need to prepare proper to make sure that the people get to understand this.
Yes. And one way is of making sure that they understand is coming to your show and explaining the manifesto, you know, without so much sideshows and stuff. Let me begin by saying, one, there are two major components in that manifesto that Raila Odinga really dwelled on. And one of them is corruption. And believe it or not, Raila Odinga and Martha Karua are going to jail some two individuals running for presidency by declaring corruption as a threat to national security and setting up a whole unit to deal with that. Take it as a command from them. They will do it. Okay. And they're going to jail people, including some running for presidency. Because, listen clearly to people out there selling their agenda and issues they want to do for the country. Show me one clip where they are saying they are going to fight corruption. You cannot promise things to people without telling them how you're going to fight corruption, which takes a third of our budget. Where are you going to get that money to implement whatever you're calling bottom up? Where are you going to get the money if all the money goes to pockets of individuals? So they have never addressed corruption. Raila Odinga and Martha Karua have addressed corruption big time. Component number two, which came out clearly. And now after addressing the issue of corruption and ensuring that there is enough money to give services to Kenyans, then he dwelled too much on manufacturing. And I have attended more than 50 meetings now held by Raila Odinga across the country. Every time young people ask him in those boardroom meetings, in those at a dorm meeting, in those validation meetings, everywhere he has gone, people have asked him, unemployment. So whenever Raila rises up to speak, he says uzalishaji. And he uses that Swahili word, uzalishaji, which means manufacturing. And he stops at that. And you could clearly hear him expound on it, talking about steel. Provoking the levels of imagination amongst Kenyans. Can you imagine how many, high-rise buildings we have in this country? And they are all supported by steel. Now imagine if we were producing that as a country. And we can be able to do it. How many jobs would we have created? He talked about Nescafe. Why do we have to import? When we are producing coffee, why can't we just make, manufacture our own? He talked about hydrogen. Simple separation of hydrogen from, oxygen. Oxygen and hydrogen from water, separating the two. They are both useful and use hydrogen to generate energy. He talked about manufacturing electronics. I think they're just basic. We have overly qualified Kenyans who can be able to do that. We have seen it at Kemadhi University. Why are we not expanding that? He went ahead to talk about automobile components. And he said, actually, we are not just going to assemble, because what we do today is just assembling. We are going to go further and make the parts, manufacture the parts.
And Solomon, in the best interest of time, I know we would not go to all that.
Those are the things we are supposed to tell Kenyans. Because in this country, when you talk about buying Kenya and building Kenya, you are seen to be mad, to be sick. We do not believe that we can do that. That's when he talked about the textile industry and people started saying, no, we need to protect our mitumba. Because we are brainwashed to believe that everything must come from outside. And those who are saying that we shouldn't, get rid of mitumba, a few months ago, there's a clip of them saying that we are importing shoes, we are importing clothes, we are importing vehicles, we are importing everything. We need to stop that. But then, that's how we treat Kenyans. So let us start feeding Kenyans the right information. And it is exactly what Raila is talking about. Let me now address the issue of the common wananchi.
Briefly. Because
some people think that they have the monopoly of discussing the low cadre citizens. And it's only them with the solutions. Let me talk about the 4 things Raila Amolo Odinga touched on which are directly affecting a common wananchi. He was so specific and said he's going to lower the price of unga. It will be a priority in his first 100 days in office. The cost of unga. The cost of data bundles, that is internet, he's going to lower it significantly so that people can afford. He talked about the cost of fuel. He's going to lower that. And number 4, the cost of energy.
The practicability of that is the question at hand.
The practicability is
the budget itself.
He has always said one thing, one sentence.
He knows where the money is.
Yes, he says.
And he wouldn't advise his friend President Uhuru Kenyatta as to addressing this.
I mean, we have had 2 things. Forget about President Kenyatta.
We cannot forget about him because he's here. He's in the picture.
I am saying he's not vying.
Okay.
Let us address those who are vying.
But they say that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga's ODM is in bed with government, and therefore, as President Uhuru Kenyatta would highly speak of him, would have expected that he's told there, go to this point, you will get the money, get it, and do this and that.
Let's talk about those who are vying.
Okay.
Kenyatta is not vying. In any case, we can only address his legacy and his delivery.
History? Do you want to run away from the facts on the ground?
In fact, I would treat you to Raila Odinga's 2013 words.
Okay.
When Uhuru Kenyatta was asked about land in a presidential debate, the person who defended him was Raila Odinga. He said, Kenyatta is Uhuru's father. We cannot talk about Uhuru's father when we are addressing a person here who is running for presidency simply because he is a son.
Let's focus too.
So let us focus on those who are running.
All right.
So actually, you have made me lose.
Fair enough. Make it brief so Gloria can come
I was addressing. You
lost the thought. No, it was about the mitumba, and I mean, there are 100 days and what he seeks to present in terms of addressing the needs of the common wananchi.
So I was simply addressing the issue of common wananchi, and you are addressing the issue of practicability and all that. We have had the Auditor General talking about a third of our budget is lost, goes to people's pockets. That's $1 trillion out of the $3 trillion budget we read. We have even had the president himself talking about it, that we lose about 2 billion per day. I mean, that can be able to absorb all teachers, all trained teachers, and put them on permanent and pensionable jobs. It is possible to take learners from primary school to university without paying a dime. So that is possible. The money is there. What we don't have is the goodwill from politicians to protect this money and put up systems that will ensure money does not go to individuals' pockets. It goes to the pockets of all Kenyans through service, delivery, manufacturing, and stuff.
And if we see that happening, it will be our joy. Gloria, there is a supporter here, Mzito Mbugu, says, I already said the next government will be about paying loans. Forget all these other side shows. This story ya 6K, itakuwa ngumu kidogo. Well, Gloria should be nominated for kwa bunge. She contributes a lot in these debates that are instrumental, in your own special way, civic education.
Amen.
So as you come in to, probably respond to what the gentlemen have said, I'd request that we make it so brief, so at least
I'll be very short and very sweet. Because also the electorate is kind of bored with tired promises. So I'm going to be short and sweet. Number one, let me correct this. The candidate here who's running for presidency is William Ruto and Raila Odinga. Do not forget. By the way, Kenyans, musipelekwe huko kufikiria ati ni Martha Karua atakuwa president. No. Martha Karua is not running for president. And just so you know, when they get in, if they ever get in, what's going to happen is that she will have no control over anything. We have already seen that by they started saying that
you heard what the right
they started listen. They even started saying when they gave her the running mate seat, they told her, "Kwanza hata wewe tutakupa Minister of Justice." They're already taking away her responsibilities as a deputy president. So to the electorate, you will respond. Martha Karua is not the candidate. You are not voting for Martha Karua. You are voting for Raila Odinga. That is the candidate, and the other candidate is William Ruto. Okay, those are the candidates. Any conversation between running mates, you have lost the plot. They will be deputy presidents. They won't have the full autonomy to do anything.
For the presidents to tell them
In fact, you have seen how our deputy president has currently been mistreated and taken out of government. So do not for a second think that you are actually voting for Martha Karua. Okay. No, you are voting for Raila Odinga. The other thing that was said, I loved that Bichache actually, hammered how, prior recognition of learning, Raila Odinga will bring this, now we'll start recognizing. Excuse me, my friends, 2015, there is an agency called the Kenya National Qualification Authority that was gazetted and mandated to recognize prior learning. From basically umekuwa salonist nini unaenda huko unafanya karatasi kadogo theory they verify your skills, and these people have already churned out certificates and degrees because from 2015 now we're in 2022, they've not just been sitting there. So Raila Odinga is promising you nothing. He's promising you nothing actually when it comes to prior recognition of learning. Okay. If you didn't know about it, they exist. Just go Kenya National Qualification Authority. Even right now, kama we ni mtu umekuwa plumber manini, you can from the TVET sector go and get your degree. Don't wait for Raila Odinga. Is not getting into office. And then this issue on corruption. The issue on corruption here is for someone to say, and actually Solomon, you have said we never talk about. That is not true. That is not true. As a matter of fact, one thing, not one instance. Let me just, sometimes mtu anakuanga na
manifesto, so to see
it's not even about manifesto. William Ruto has been speaking about it. You just don't want to hear it. When we were at BBI, what was he fighting for? The independence of judiciary. Why was he fighting for the independence of judiciary and the ombudsman should not be connected to the executive or any other form? Because, number one, judiciary is where we will get convictions of corrupt people. So if you actually attach it to the executive or any other place, you're already messing with the independence. So that is one way of dealing with corruption. He fought for it at Bomas, karibu hata wamtupie zile vitabu, but he said no, judiciary must be kept independent. Another instance where he has actually talked about it, in the naming of the running mate, this is now the recent because he's talked about it many times and he's talked about ufisadi and how we need to approach it. In fact, he even said with the bottom-up economic approach, this is what he talks about repeatedly. Corruption doesn't happen uko chini kwa ule mtu mwenye finally alipata gloves 10 za COVID. Corruption happens at KEMSA, at the boardroom on a very top level. So if you're having a bottom-up economic approach, there are some things that will automatically, some loopholes that will automatically disappear because the economic approach actually means that even down to administrative levels, you are going to consider that the processes will factor in the bottom-up economic approach. That is a way of dealing with corruption. And finally, on corruption, because there are 4 of them and they are wanauza sera and I'm alone. So allow me to just educate the electorate. When you talk about corruption, let me give you an instance. When institutions were independent, and that is what William Ruto has been saying, we need to push for the independence of institutions. The police service, the judiciary, they need to be independent. When those institutions somehow are independent, you remember Waluke? Waluke was given 100 years in jail when the institutions were what? Independent. He actually was convicted, 100 years in jail. Then what happened? Capitol Hill laundry mat. Mwosho moja. Okay. And then now they are actually trying to bring back Waluke under the umbrella of Azimio. Yeah. Sanitizing him, bring him back. And you know what? The point I'm trying to put out there. Political interference with how we are dealing with our institutions is actually the reason corruption is thriving. When you actually make those institutions independent, then the corruption, mtu atakuwa anajua by the way Waluke alipewa 100 years na hakuna Capitol Hill.
Lakini Waluke shifted gear kivyake and it has nothing to do with
the political goodwill, laundromat. The political goodwill of the leader who's there is also what will determine. We have had our President Uhuru Kenyatta coming out and say sasa nifanye nini? 2 billion inaibiwa. So if our president is asking us nifanye nini, that's what I'm saying. It's also the political goodwill. We've also seen instances where corruption is being weaponized. Like when people now shifted including the likes of Waiguru. When they were on the other side, clean. Nobody's touching them. Nobody is calling them to EFCC.
That is misplaced, Gloria.
Let me tell you, no one was calling.
misplaced.
And Waiguru had a very peaceful moment from when she went to Capitol Hill. Very peaceful. And then the moment she realized, oh no, I need to be on the right side of history. I need to represent my people.
The processes were ongoing.
And she crossed over. Now, when she crossed over like this, corruption was being weaponized. Makesi zikaamka.
Kevin.
No. The Big Four agenda, which I need to speak on, is actually
we have to balance the time.
The good things. The good things that that are in the manifesto of Azimio are actually the Big Four agenda. You have manufacturing, Big Four agenda. You have affordable healthcare, universal healthcare, Big Four agenda. That was the second one. He's talked about issues on agriculture and food security, Big Four agenda.
Which is
so
fair
why?
enough.
Yeah. So let me ask now this question: why did Raila Odinga spend 2 years in distracting what he calls his brother Uhuru Kenyatta, distracting him so that he does not implement the Big Four agenda, only for him now to come and say, Kenyans,
Kevin,
here is my agenda for you. So you spent 2 years distracting. And you know, by the way, Uhuru Kenyatta should actually ask himself, that's a very bad friend. Because anakuibia your things anaenda sasa hizo ndo sasa anauza. It's very unfair.
Kevin, and true to it, the manifesto was largely about some of this, that was articulated by the Big Four agenda or projected by the Big Four agenda.
Do you know why? Yeah. Because Kenya has a vision called the Vision 2030.
Yeah.
We are in 2022. We have 8 years to go. So I don't think there's any problem for any candidates, because even those who are vying as governors, those who are vying as MCAs, they are also espousing and presenting the dreams of Kenyans in the Vision 2030. What the Jubilee government did was to pick aspects of the Vision 2030 and broke them down into the Big Four agenda items. And that is not anything. They are in Google. We can visit Ministry of Treasury. We can go to planning just along Harambe, about 4.6 kilometers from here, and you'll get volumes of documents, and all those are also online. At the regional offices, there are actually government has invested in bookshelves, where people can go, and those who are interested get information. So I don't think there's a problem in anybody talking about Big Four, because that is really the dream of Kenyans. And secondly, those are the issues, Linda, that affect Kenyans. Manufacturing is real. Health is a big issue. In fact, right now we're engaging with NMS Nairobi. And if you look at the number of loopholes, if you look at the qualified personnel that have not been given opportunities, if you look at the revamping by Jubilee government of health facilities within Nairobi alone, so imagine the 47 counties, the number of health facilities that have been moved from level 2 to level 3 all the way to referral hospitals is purely because of the aspirations of Kenyans in the Vision 2030. So I want to probably make a proposal that Gloria could in some of our training sessions that focus on the Kenyan Dream, Vision 2030, and 2, on civic education. It is not right to tell Kenyans that you are not voting for a running mate. Linda, it is in the Constitution.
You're not voting for a running mate. You're voting for a president.
I was just
Gloria, let's allow Sky T Karish.
But he has invited me.
We all know that the DP seat in a huge way is like an empty shell.
Let me move forward.
And Kenyans need to understand
Yes, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do.
So many invite.
So are you the one asking, or Linda is the one asking?
No, I'm asking. You've invited me for.
And I'm hoping that we're not going to have a walkout session, because I like it that.
But also, Kevin, let's
be
flexible to also get a question from her, and I think that is fair.
I mean, he has invited me to go for a training, and I wanted to just tell him that I'll come for the training, but the attitude has to change towards low-income earners and poor people.
So what I'm saying is that the Constitution proposes that when you're running for president and a governor, you present in one ticket a running mate, so that the two of you are elected together. On August 9th, Kenyans are voting for president and running mate. You will not vote for president on 9th and running mate on 15th August. It is one ticket. And that is why the manner in which our politics is done is boxed in a mechanism where you both talk to each other, you negotiate, and you merge your interests. So that when you go to the citizens, if Gloria was to be my running mate in maybe today or in future, we have to gel so that when she speaks, the controversies around what I'm saying and what she's saying should not arise in the eyes of those who are singers. Yeah. So that if we disagree, it should be on the back of the boardroom. And that is what the Constitution has done. Why we have challenges with Jubilee, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Dr. William Ruto is also the same as what we see in almost how many counties? About 37 other counties where deputy governors and governors don't even sit eye to eye. You see, they're always hunting each other. And that is why probably the presidential candidate of Azimio has said, we will strengthen the office of the deputy president. Because the Constitution says that you deputize a president. And deputizing, and of course you are the president, acting capacity when the president is not there. That is in the Constitution. What Raila Odinga, Mheshimiwa Raila has done is to strengthen the office and say, we don't want to see a deputy president who is just waiting to be sent to this meeting or to that meeting, or waiting for governors to invite him or her for a CBEC meeting, County Budget and Economic Forum meeting, to go and chair. You also have a space to be able to exercise your expertise, your skills, your knowledge, and therefore generally make governance easy and also beneficial to all Kenyans, while you also exercise what you learned in school. And I think that proposing Mheshimiwa Martha Karua as Justice CS is not far-fetched, because he is a very well-accomplished professional lawyer who has grown through the ranks to become
There's no legal framework for it. There's no legal framework where a DP can be a minister.
It is the same. The County Governments Act even proposes that a deputy governor can be a CEC.
And
that is a legal framework.
That as well could be the president just according duties to the DP.
It is there. It is in law.
There's no legal framework. It is in law.
I still invite her
she can become any minister.
All right.
I still invite her to
yes, Mark, we come to you as you react to what it is that the lady and the gentleman are saying as well. How then do the rest of the candidates move with speed? We only have 62 days, that's like 2 months, to as well present their manifestos, their promises, and speak to the people. So moving forward, we are on that level where it becomes easy for us to make decisions.
Well, just allow me first to remind my fellow Kenyans that number one, on the 9th of August, you will be voting for Martha Karua, and you will have the choice to vote for Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua is going to have his picture right next to one William Ruto, and that is the ticket, the combination that you're voting for. And let's not lie to Kenyans that these two people do not matter. The politics of Martha Karua matters, the politics of Rigathi Gachagua matters, because at the end of the day, as the second most powerful person in the country, whatever they believe in is what you shall see. So please go back to 1992, find out what Martha was doing, find out what Rigathi was doing, find out what William Ruto was doing, find out what Raila Odinga was doing. Do the same for 1997 with special emphasis to Molo and how many lives were lost there. And then you will know what kind of presidency you will have with both people. And I think this is something that needs to be fundamental. I insist that Kenyans must research the leaders they are going to vote for. Number two,
you forgot 2007 also.
It is very important
2007, you forgot it. They should also check what Raila Odinga was doing on 2007, swearing himself in 2007.
Gloria Uroba, you really need to
treason.
You need to go to etiquette school and learn to respect other people's rights.
It's called interjection.
Proceed, Mark.
Yeah. Number two, we must be very clear, and it is one of the promises within the Inawezekana agenda. One of the promises there is that the good things that Kenyans are used to, the good things that Mwai Kibaki did, the good things that we're enjoying today in this country needs to continue. Tanga itself continues to praise itself about what they have delivered for this country using the Big Four agenda. Their bottom-up approach talks about manufacturing, which is part of the Big Four agenda. So we cannot sit here and say that just because one side is saying that we need to continue the good work that is happening in this country, that suddenly we want to rubbish ideas such as employing teachers, ideas such as universal healthcare, ideas such as building manufacturing. These are things that are good for the people. In fact, I have argued But as a country, we need to have basic agreements that we cannot argue about infrastructure, for example. It is a shame that we have leaders that say we do not eat infrastructure, yet we know the road to economic independence, to economic revolution, is roads and infrastructure. So we need to get to the point where we have intellectual conversations and not just political anecdotes for the sake of confusing the people. Lastly, let me say this. The challenge that UDA is going to have in its manifesto is how it's going to demonstrate that it is a pro-poor institution when number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in their top ranking are number 1, very wealthy people, and number 2, they are all men. There is no one in the top 10 of UDA who is Mama Mboga. There is no one who's there who can say, like Martha Karua can say, that she's pulled herself up. She was not helped by Moi. She was not helped by Mwai Kibaki. She's worked hard for where she is. There is no one within the UDA fraternity in their top 10 that you can count as being a woman or someone
hugely of how the women will benefit.
So UDA will have a problem depicting what they speak and what their propaganda is, and even differentiating it from what Azimio has already done. Because I can assure you, if you read the Azimio agenda, the Inawezekana agenda, you will see that throughout they have covered every base, and the biggest linchpin is manufacturing, which we need to give our young people jobs.
Okay, let's take a
let me just mention
on the issue on women, on the issue on
one.
women, because he is addressing UDA and I'm sitting here.
Okay.
So let me address him back. On the issue of UDA and the women,
you will respond because I'm sure
let me respond.
Solomon.
Let me respond.
Solomon, 1 minute. I'm told we have to close.
Yes, let me say this.
Oh, to close now.
These manifestos will just boil down to one thing. Who can you trust? William Ruto promised women the possession of a running mate. Waigoro prepared. Susan Keheka got prepared. Alice Wahome even bought new clothes. But none of them got the possession. He ended up appointing Rigathi Gachagua as the running mate. Raila Odinga has appointed Martha Karua as the running mate. Even Wajakoya, who has issues, has a female running mate. Mwaure has a female running mate. So clearly, women can see who they can trust. Out of 4, only one individual has not seen a woman across the country who is qualified to deputize.
Is that not misplaced?
I am wondering, it's first of all,
woman.
No,
So,
how is the question?
You're getting your chance.
But the question
in a minute, you're getting your chance.
Let me talk,
You will
because
respond
she
to that.
doesn't want to
we
hear
have
the
to close.
No, no, it's not factual.
Look at this.
It's not factual.
We have a constitutional crisis. We need to address the issue of gender parity.
Okay.
It is actually anchored in the Constitution that for any available positions, make sure there is balance. There are only 2 positions at the helm in this country, the president and the running mate. Where are the women in Kenya Kwanza at the helm of
hold it right
this
there.
country?
Gloria, 1 minute.
I want to say this, and I do not want to seem emotional, but when you choose as men, because these are men on set, these are also men. Please, the electorate should understand. The panelists,
We are 4 here.
Listen, the panelists who are sitting here trying to claim they cannot see the UDA women are because they are men. They are blinded. When you say you cannot see the bottom-up
At
approach,
presidency.
no,
At presidency.
Solomon Kuria, you are not in UDA. You are not a member of UDA. You do not sit in the presidential secretariat campaign in UDA. Let me educate you. When you choose to say we can't see the women in UDA,
yes, they're there.
we can't see the bottom-up approach in you. Let me give you a combination of a bottom-up approach in a woman on a senior level in UDA. How many times have you people coming out? You've been coming out attacking Aisha Jumwa, who's top 10, by the way. In case you did not know, in case you didn't, there's no.
She's not a running mate.
You have 9 running mates. No, allow me, Alela. Do they have 9 running mates?
No.
Do they have 9 running mates? Yes, because Bichache said top 10.
Yes.
So isn't Aisha Jumwa top 10? Yeah. Excuse me, guys. You know, let us be fair. So no, don't cut my
Aisha is not a running mate.
Aisha Jumwa, who represents the bottom-up approach in a woman in the top 10. In the top 10 of UDA. Number 1, this is a person who actually went through child marriage. Her story represents what we see as the Kenyan dream. And the thing is, when they started saying makaratasi zake, education yake, nini, we had to come out and say, you people, this woman actually was married when she was a child. She chose to go back to school at her later years. That in itself is a true Kenyan story. Yeah. After that, she got her degrees. She is now the first woman who was the woman representative in Kilifi. And she's going to go down in history as the first woman who's going to be the governor. So let me ask you, when you're looking at this position that because you have given us Martha Karua, so now sisi sote hamuoni Aisha Jumwa, hamuoni Alice Wahome, hamuoni Anne Waguru, hamuoni Susan Kihikia, hamuoni by the way, hamuoni Gloria Oroba. On top of that, Gloria Oroba, who even is not mimi, baba yangu alilelewa State House. Mama yangu alitoka, alikuwa freedom fighter na akapata land. So at the end of the day, I'm not digressing. Do not mislead the electorate. 30 seconds. The women are there. The bottom-up approach is there. And by the way, you are not voting for Martha Karua. You are voting for Raila Odinga. And 2008, he swore himself. That is the person you're voting for.
Thank you. Linda, two things. One is to correct. I said that cotton-growing counties, I'm told by our M&D people, they are Homa Bay, Siaya, Kitui, Lamu, and Meru. Then number two, as we head to elections in the next 64 days, my appeal is for the political class to ensure peace, unity, strong cohesion of communities, because there is going to be a Kenya after elections. Whatever it is you do, whatever it is you say, remember that peace, we must give peace a chance for August 9, 2022, before, during, and after elections.
Well said, and lady and
Alela, one thing.
Gloria will be sliced
I
out.
need to also ask the electorate to tell me what Martha Karua has done for women in 1997.
Gloria Oroba, you've started this panel and appreciated so much.
No. I appreciate her as a woman.
Yeah.
I want to now hizo skills zenye mnatuambia amefanya nini wanawake. There are men out here who have done more for women.
We have to close. Gloria Oroba, youth policy analyst, and the last speaker, Kevin Osido, governance expert, communication strategist, Mark Bichache, who has been joining us virtually, as well as the chairperson of Azimio Youth League, that is Solomon Kuria. We have to close. Asante sana. After this break, it will be